Right, here we go. Here is the countdown. Hello everyone, I'm Charlie. This is the Charlie Tolhurst show for the 12th of September 2021, your second show of the month. Lots to talk about tonight. I'm joined by Labour Party supporter Zach James to round up all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, hello, Charlie. Hello.
Now, I want to start off with some breaking news on the hot headlines tonight, which is the UK government have announced that for England, vaccine passports will be scrapped, mounting calls in Scotland for Nicola Sturgeon to do the same thing. However, though, it seems like Scotland are going ahead. But Zach, what is your view on this when the Health Secretary Sajid Javid broke the news this morning?
Yeah, it was pretty extraordinary to see this announced, Charlie. At around about 8:30 this morning, Sajid Javid was on Trevor Phillips on Sunday on Sky News saying that vaccine passports were still going ahead. On Andrew Marr, hosted by Nick Robinson this week, he announced at the end of the show that it would not be going ahead. So presumably a policy change within the hour that forced the decision to be gone. Now, this is a very interesting decision because they were planning a vote on this. They were planning to introduce it on the end of the month. Then they suddenly decided to change their minds. It was reported anyway in the Sunday Times that this wouldn't be going ahead anyway. It seems like the Sunday Times were true. Interesting, Charlie, because this as I said, this was planned to go ahead at the end of the month. To the despair of Tory backbenchers and the nightclub industry as well. That is not happening now. In Scotland, it is though, and it's going to be introduced in October. In that sort of sense as well. That's basically what's going to happen. So any nightclubs or large venues, probably over 10,000, are going to be introduced in Scotland. But England, it's gone. No more vaccine passports or certifications, as they say. It's been scrapped. As I said, much to the delight of Tory MPs.
Yeah, and I'm going to get onto that video. I'm going to play a clip shortly of a House of Commons debate in Parliament over the vaccine passports. But yes, as it says on here in this article I've just found from GB News, plans to introduce vaccine pass for England's nightclubs and other crowd events have been scrapped. Another government U-turn. How many U-turns has this government made during the pandemic? 3 school meals, exams, now this. But this is the right move. Backlash from Tory MPs. The idea had been shelved. And the hospitality sector actually said it was good news. Michael Kill, Chief Executive of the Nighttime Industries Association, the NITA, said, "We hope the businesses now can able to plan the future with some degree of certainty, regain confidence from key customers and the workforce, and start rebuild a sector that has consistently been on the sharp end of this pandemic." While Sasha Lord, Nighttime Economy Minister for Greater Manchester and co-founder of Park Life, said the idea had been untenable and illogical. And this was Nadeem Zahawi at a vaccine summit in Stratford, East London the other day. You can see here, he certainly looks very happy as if vaccine passports will be going ahead. By the way, these are discriminatory, of course. It ended up being that he ended up getting a bit of a roasting during the week from Tory MPs. We'll get onto that clip in a little while. So that is the first bit on vaccine passports. But moving on now to the second news story of the week, which is Boris Johnson's winter COVID plan. Now, next week, he will be making an address to the country from Downing Street about the winter plan. Now, Zach, I've been reading newspapers a lot about this, and there is going to be a lot of plans expected. Obviously, with vaccine passports was originally on that plan, but that's now been shelved. What do you expect, telling all the listeners tonight, what do you expect Boris will announce next week for his winter COVID plan?
Yeah, so several things I expect to be announced, Charlie. One is about how to deal with COVID over the winter. It's very unlikely. Boris Johnson is expected to announce that he's not going to implement any lockdowns of any sorts. I suppose if you think about it, Charlie, as well, considering the scrapping of passports, I suppose that's going to be a factor to swaying towards no lockdowns or anything like that as well. But he's going to lay out a plan of, how to not lock down over winter, how we can live with the virus over the winter. The second thing I expect him to announce is potentially the announcement of booster programs for the immunocompromised at the first stage, and then maybe expanded to a wider audience. We're waiting for the JCVI and MHRA to announce further information on that. I suppose we'll get it on the Tuesday. The vice are going to be probably stuck in there as well, bundled in the announcement as well. And we may actually get, despite what the JCVI recommended, from the chief medical officers of the UK, a 12 to 15-year-old COVID shot program. That could well be announced during the Boris Johnson's Tuesday press conference. That might well be announced, Charlie. A lot of the JCVI ruled it out at first. It's probably likely to happen in a couple of weeks now. On the advice of the chief medical officers, they're the most senior officers in this country in terms of medical matters and all that sort of thing. The third one as well, I expect also here, Charlie, is maybe the announcement of scrapping the PCR tests when you're traveling abroad. These are the requirements to PCR test. That's a very interesting move as well in terms of that, because obviously, there's a lot of variants hovering around in certain countries that are home brewing as well. That could be an interesting one. The fourth thing I expect to announce as well, and this is going to be very important, Charlie, because the government want to extend the Coronavirus Act, and they're going to make a few concessions in exchange for trying to get this through Parliament in a go, and that is basically scrapping plans to basically removing the powers to force a business to close, removing powers to force a school to close, all that. So basically removing powers that they don't need now. That's what they're planning to do to make sure this extension goes through another 3-6 months, whatever they plan to do. So expect that to be referenced as well, Charlie. So there's going to be several announcements in there. And it's probably going to be a big day for how the country will deal with COVID through the winter. Because obviously during the winter, you'll have the commonly flu season, as well as COVID around. It's going to probably be a very precious winter ahead for the NHS. So there's going to be quite a lot of things going on in the next few days and announcements for this Prime Minister.
Yeah, I have to say, if you read up the newspaper the other day, I'm no fan of this newspaper, by the way. If you ask me, Benjamin Butterworth is an editor of it. Of course, he was on GB News on Monday. There has been talk of, and by the way, I completely condemn what one of the articles was written up here. Complete fake news this. Apparently, I read up possibility of Sage recommending a fire break set of restrictions over the October half term, including schools shutting for an extra week. Now, I dismissed that report. I think that is completely nonsensical. And Zach, what did you make of the newspaper's article on this issue?
I mean, goodness me, we've gone back to 2020 with that article. Is 2020 or 2021? We've heard the term fire breaks, October, November lockdown before, haven't we? That was very 2020 of that. But nevertheless, Charlie, I personally think that's not going to happen. The only thing I think that could happen is possibly mandatory mask wearing in some places again, which wouldn't be too much of a ask, I don't think. That's if you ask my opinion, if it has to go that far. But yeah, this is obviously winter's going to be interesting for the NHS. As I said, we've got the flu season coming up. Also got COVID, so the numbers, there might be an uptick in the numbers. I don't believe there's going to be a lockdown. If you ask me, this is Boris Johnson, the new libertarian that we're talking about, his new libertarian attitude. Almost like what the point the Conservative and Liberal Party was, I thought. But there we go. But yeah, I can't see lockdowns happening, I think there could be the option for restrictions if necessary, but it wouldn't be, I don't think, like mandatory face masking. I don't think that's too much of a problem for me, if you ask. If that ever has to happen
on public. I think they might. I mean, I know some metro mayors, Zach, have got public transport mandatory mask wearing still in place. So it is clear that it's going to be interesting. Please comment down below, guys, what you'll be making of Boris's winter plan. Obviously, please tune in to listen to the press conference next week if you want to get more of an idea. And we'll keep you updated with all the news on our socials, because I really think it's important to understand and highlight why this is an important matter taken into consideration. But we're moving on from the winter plan now to number 3 on the list, and that is, we're going to be talking a little bit about Parliament now. After returning from the recess, there was plenty of action in the House of Commons last week, including a fiery debate on an urgent question about vaccine passports. And Zach, Nadeem Zahawi sure got a hammering by 2 Tory lockdown septic MPs.
Oh, he will regret that session. He really would have regretted that. He was defending the indefensible in his own terms. He admitted he didn't even like it. But guess what happened? A couple of days later, whoa, it's gone. But yes, he was really trying to defend the government policy at the time, and he didn't seem to like it. The backbenchers was absolutely not happy with it. Questions from all sides, the Lib Dems, the Conservatives. I think one of the Conservative MPs, I think, started his little question with saying, "What's nonsense?" or something like that. I think it was William Ragg or something like that, who said that. It was quite something that you hear a Conservative MP start a question with saying, "What's nonsense?" That was quite something, if you ask me. But yeah, he got absolutely annihilated. A very uncomfortable urgent question on Thursday for Nadeem Zahawi.
Yeah. Whilst we're here now, we're actually going to play for you that little short clip of the Commons debate of urgent question on vaccine passports. This is Nadeem Zahawi being hammered by some MPs in the chamber over COVID vaccine passports at nightclubs. Have a listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our vaccination programme has given this nation a wall of protection from this deadly virus. Data from Public Health England estimates that 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine offers protection of around 96% against hospitalisation, and that our jabs have prevented over 100,000 deaths, over 143,000 hospitalisations, and around 24 million infections. It is this protection, Mr. Speaker, that has allowed us to carefully ease restrictions over the past few months. However, we must do so in a way that is mindful of the benefits that both doses of the vaccine can bring. On the 19th of July, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister announced that by the end of September, when everyone aged 18 and over will have had the chance to get fully vaccinated, that the government plans to make full vaccination a condition of entry to nightclubs and other venues where large crowds gather. As a condition of entry to these venues, people will need to show that they are fully vaccinated, and proof of a negative test will no longer be sufficient. We'll be confirming more details about this in due course, Mr. Speaker. This approach is designed to reduce transmission and serious illness. It is in line with the approach we've taken on international travel, where different rules apply depending on whether you've had both jabs. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to end by urging people to come forward to get the jab. 88% of people have had one jab, and over 80% of people 16 and over have now had the protection of both doses. It is the best way to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. So please come forward and join them and make our wall of protection even stronger.
Thank you to Nadeem Zahawi for that comment. I'm now going to play for you a bit of a clip now from Sir Desmond Swain and, of course, William Ragg, who were in that debate as well, as both of them claimed that this was utter rubbish and also a super spreader event, which is actually worse than it is itself. Have a listen to this.
The super spreader event, the spread of illiberal, discriminatory and coercive policies from this dispatch box.
It pains me to have to stand at this dispatch box and have to implement something that goes against the DNA of this minister and his prime minister. But we are living through difficult times, unprecedented times, as one of the major economies of the world. I think we've done an incredible job as the four nations for implementing the vaccination program, and this is a precautionary measure to ensure that we can sustainably maintain the opening of all sectors of the economy.
What a load of rubbish. I don't believe my humble friend believes a word which you just uttered, because I remember him very persuasively stating my position, which we shared at the time, that this measure would be discriminatory, and yet he's sent to the dispatch box to defend the indefensible. This is a needless fight that we seem prepared to have in this House over this issue, completely unnecessary. We all agree that people should be encouraged to take the vaccine, and I again encourage everybody to do so. But to go down this route, which is overtly discriminatory, will be utterly damaging to the fabric of society.
Thank you there. I found the video in the end. That was the one of the the 2 points of order there from the MP. Zach, what did you make of that debate?
Wow. Yeah, I was quite extraordinary. Sorry, I've just nearly spelt T down me, so I do sound a bit weird. Yeah, it was quite extraordinary to hear a Tory MP start a question saying, "What a load of rubbish." It's not often that Tory MPs are that bitterly concerned about plans like this, and they got their wish at the end of the day. To be fair, Charlie, they got their wish.
Yeah, especially the intervention from Sir Desmond Swain, who arguably is a lockdown skeptic, a COVID lockdown skeptic, and also an anti-dystopian vaccine passport skeptic as well. In that he also voted against this. I agree with both of them. Wow, please comment down below, guys, what you thought of that urgent question debate there. Do you think the comments made to Nazim Tahawi were appropriate? I'd like to have your view in the comments on that, because certainly that debate was a fiery one to start Parliament off with as well. But moving on now from the hot headlines to sports round now, I've got a couple of updates from sports round. I want to start though with the Formula One action at Monza. What a race we had. Daniel Ricciardo finally getting a win at McLaren, 8th career victory. But once again, Zach, Max Verstappen in Red Bull and Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes both come together, this time down at the Rettifido. What's your view of the race today?
Oh, Charlie, what a race it was. What a race. I mean, in all fairness, it was one, if you were going to be really kind, it was run from the start, really, because Daniel Ricciardo from second place, what a start he got. He got way ahead, quicker than Verstappen. Obviously, the run into turn one, mate, he got ahead as well. And, you know, it feels like that wasn't the dominant story, though, of the day, Charlie, despite the fact McLaren getting their first 1-2 in ages. I mean, it's great to see McLaren at the top. But inevitably, the real stories, Charlie, are going to be what happened between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. They collided again. And they took both out this time. The consequence, though, is Max Verstappen's got a 3-place grid penalty for Russia. If you ask me, I thought it was a racing incident. I thought the penalty was a little harsh, if you ask me. I suppose if you want to be kind, they keep it consistent between what happened in Silverstone, where Hamilton got a 10-second penalty. I think they're different things, though, Charlie, to be fair, as well. I think they're different things, if you ask me. And I thought it was a little harsh. I originally thought it was a racing incident. I think both were at fault. If you look at what Max Verstappen did, I'm going to get this actually up and show you what's happened, actually, if I can. So here we go. I'm going to just play it here. Now, here's Hamilton coming out now. He comes out here. Now, look, he turns in on Verstappen right here. So obviously Hamilton knows Verstappen's coming up next to him here. And as I play it along, look, he turns in again. And we're going to turn one. Look, Verstappen's already off the track. Look, you can see, look, Hamilton has squeezed Verstappen off the track already. This is where I think Verstappen goes wrong. Now, look, if we go take the first corner here, look, you're on ball with him. And then I'm going to stop it here. He's coming off the track, Charlie. Look, Hamilton has left Verstappen no room whatsoever, as you can probably see. Just by the look, his tyre here is off the racetrack. There is a curb here, Charlie. There is a curb. Now, if that wasn't a curb there, you think, okay, if I go around keep it like this, I might be able to get through. But no, Hamilton doesn't give Verstappen enough room. Verstappen commits. He can either back out or he can commit. He commits, and this is what happens. Yep, there you go. He's gone. And look at that. And I have to say, Charlie, as well, fair play to the halo, because Verstappen's rear wheel was on the halo of Hamilton's car at one point as well. If I play on here, Charlie, as well, hopefully as well, you might be able to see if I can find. Here we go. Look at this. Look. His car is literally on the back of the Mercedes, and then watch the tire here. Look. Oh, there we go. It's gone. It got there before this went round. But the tire hit the halo, and if that halo was not there, Charlie, we would be debating tonight whether Hamilton had a serious injury. But yeah, that was pretty something as well. As you could as well see, Ricciardo was in the lead as well when the safety car came in. Leclerc was behind him. But look, what a job Norris, by the way, did as well. Getting up from 32nd past Leclerc and basically listening to the team, Charlie. He decided to stick behind Ricciardo because it thought it was best for the team, and it paid off. And Valtteri Bottas, who was on the medium tyre, by the way, can I just point out, he was on the medium tyre, and he was on the faster tyre, but he kept getting stuck behind the likes of Sainz and Perez for way too long. And at the end of the day, Charlie, on the medium tyres, whilst you run, in Italy, the DRS is not that effective because the straights are so long and so fast that you are basically towing. The DRS becomes ineffective then. So on medium tyres as well, once you're behind the dirty air of another car, the tyre's going to run out. And fortunately, Bottas felt the effect of that. The only reason why Bottas finished on the podium today is because Perez got a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, not giving the position back.
Yeah, Leclerc overtook Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari down at the Delarosa.
If you ask me about the penalty, Charlie, that Verstappen got, I'll be honest, I think it's a bit harsh. I mean, I would describe it as a racing incident. I think both sides were at the fault. As I said, Charlie, I think Hamilton could lift Verstappen enough room. But then again, I think Verstappen should have not committed the corner. I think that's a bit harsh. If you're looking from a Silverstone perspective, then maybe it's consistent from their ruling. But I think it's just two different incidents, and I think it was a racing incident. If you ask me, I think it was a bit harsh penalty for that one. I think. If you
so we got the result. I'm just going to get the results up whilst we're here, as well. So the results are going to come up now on my screen whilst I'm here. So as you can see, I have the classification up. Daniel Ricciardo, confirmation that he won today's Italian Grand Prix. McLaren with a 1-2 finish. Also McLaren's first win since Jenson Button in Brazil 2012. Who doesn't remember that title decider in the conditions there? Valtteri Bottas finished third after starting at the back of the grid after a power unit change. Charles Leclerc fourth for Ferrari. Fifth went to Sergio Perez after his 5-second penalty was incurred. Carlos Sainz sixth, despite colliding with Antonio Giovinazzi on the opening lap. Lance Stroll, a decent seventh for Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso scores points at Alpine in eighth. George Russell, ninth for Williams, who scored some points. And Esteban Ocon finished 10th. And, of course, Nicholas Latifi just missing out on the points. Mind you, though, for the racing, both Hasses got in the wars again. Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher both collided once again. Oh no, I can't say more about
what
it.
is it with them two? What is it with them two? I don't understand. They seem to have a obsession with colliding with each other and having into each other. Don't get it.
Yeah, I know, it's
I really
crazy.
don't get it. It's incredible. Like those two they always seem to have a little bites at each other and stuff like that. But what a weekend, Charlie! What a weekend! I think, if you ask me.
Yeah, and also as well, driver changes coming up as well with the news just broke out last week that Valtteri Bottas goes to Alfa Romeo, George Russell to Mercedes, and Alex Albon's now Williams. I mean, Zach, his driver market's already shaping up to be pretty entertaining, actually.
If you ask me, the best change out of them all, Charlie, was George Russell to Mercedes. He absolutely deserves that seat. To be fair, Valtteri Bottas has been really good this weekend. To everyone's surprise, almost like, oh no, I'm out of here. I'm just going to race as hard as I can. And he's shown it. He's shown all that potential that he could have shown throughout the last few years at Mercedes. I mean, like, Friday was spectacular. He managed to do a stunning pole lap. Saturday, he managed to hold on to win the sprint. He did an excellent job all weekend. Obviously, the engine penalty didn't help as well. But he did this. I think he did a really, really good job as well. He couldn't last the tires until the end, unfortunately. But he did an excellent job, I think, Charlie. He did a brilliant job throughout this weekend. Excellent, excellent job.
Yeah, I have to say, Formula One drivers alike were paying tribute to Emma Raducanu today, who won the US Open. First British woman to do that in many years. I have to say, Formula One deserved to pay tribute to that because she was a fantastic tennis player, wasn't she?
Oh, she was fantastic, Charlie. I didn't watch the whole match, unfortunately. But she is some sort of talent. The fact that she did not lose a single set throughout the whole US Open tournament. And she got into the actual tournament by the qualifiers, not by, being seeded and everything like that. That was something, Charlie. That was absolutely something. It's incredible. She's a queen. Even the Queen sent a message. She is a queen. And she is an absolute superstar, Charlie. Absolute superstar.
Yeah. All I can say is that surely was We Are the Champions playing all the way through the I would have thought she probably would have got home and that night or to a flat and just put on We Are the Champions by Queen because she was so energetic. But yeah, what an amazing performance. And as I said, Formula One drivers alike have paid tribute to her, not just them, but also the whole of the United Kingdom rooted her on as well. And it's fantastic. My congrats go to Emma Raducanu, just 18 years old. Incredible to win the tennis. So yeah, Flushing Meadows certainly was full of excitement. But yeah, very interesting win there for Emma Raducanu. And in Formula One, we go to Sochi next, I think, for the Russian Grand Prix. So a couple of weeks' time for that one. So it'll be very interesting indeed. But moving on now, I want to talk about a race that's happening, I believe, right now. And that's the IndyCar action at Portland. Zach, any news on that at the moment?
Yes, I actually got it on my TV screen as I speak, Charlie, whilst we're talking about this. I have my TV on watching the IndyCar. Pato O'Ward at the moment is leading lap 28. Graham Rahal is chasing him right behind Charlie. 9/10 at the moment. Ed Jones is third. Marcus Ericsson is fourth. Bordeaux's fifth. Jack Harvey sixth. Tumasat is seventh. In eighth position is a rookie for this weekend, Callum Ilott. You may remember him from Formula 2. He's racing IndyCar the next final 3 races this season. And he's an 8th so far. Dixon is 9th. Palou is 10th. Rossi is 11th. Daly is 12th. 13th. Herter is 14th. Rosenquist 15th. That's top 15 at the moment, Charlie. But they still have to do the pit stops, I believe. It's a bit of a mess at the moment. But Pato O'Ward is leading, crucial for his championship, because if it stays like this, Charlie, I believe we'll be 46 points ahead going into the last 2 rounds of the season. Very important.
Surprised, I don't know who Callum Ilott's filling in for. Maybe a driver's had to pull out.
He's with a new team this weekend. It's a new team that's developed for the last 3 races, Charlie. So he's racing for that team for the last 3 races this season. So yeah, it is a different. It's a new team, but he may well get a full-time ride next season. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, Charlie, if you ask me. So good luck to him. I think he deserves it there, to be honest. He's a very talented driver, I think, Charlie.
Yeah, I got to say, I think he is. You watch like F2. He was really good in that rookie season last year. I think he deserves it. So comment down below, guys. Do you think Callum Ilott should get an IndyCar seat for 2022? Please comment down below and let me know what you think. But also, NASCAR go this weekend to the Federated Auto Parts 400 at Richmond for the event. I don't know if that event has actually started yet, but it's interesting to see how this looks at, because the playoffs are now getting very much closer now.
You're wondering whether it starts. It happened yesterday, Charlie, because it's a Saturday night race. It was Martin Truex Jr. who won the race and advanced to the round of 12. We're in the playoffs at the moment, Charlie, as you well aware. We are in the playoff stages. Truex has won, so he's going to be advancing to the next stage. Currently, at the moment, Charlie, based on last night's results, there's certain drivers that are in danger. Kurt Busch is now in danger after last night's crash. Tyler Reddick's also now in danger as well. Let me just show you the bubble at the elimination line, Charlie, at the moment to get through to the next stage at the moment of the chase, the round of 12. As you can see, it's a very, very interesting cutoff bubble, Charlie. Just 13 points between Brad Keselowski and being eliminated. So it's between Busch, Keselowski, both the Bushes actually, Almirola, Bowman, Reddick, Byron, and Michael McDonald to get through to the next round of chase. And they are racing next Saturday, Charlie. It's a night race as well for that one. Very, very crucial race before the next round.
Interesting Saturday racing. They must have moved all their playoff races to a Saturday. Wow. NASCAR on a Saturday sounds pretty special. And I think I'm just going to double check where we're going to be going for the Cup Series. Bristol Bass Pro Shops night race. Yeah, next Saturday, early in the morning. But yeah, big race next weekend. Oh, wow. That is going to be big. So Denny Hamlin won last time out, just to confirm. I do have the results. Denny Hamlin won the previous meeting. So yeah, long time coming for him. But yeah, the NASCAR action is back next week. So I really can see exactly what is happening. But whilst we're here now and we've got time, we'll round up your quick Premier League football matches whilst we're here. And it was a dream start for some teams in the Premier League over the weekend. I have some of the results here. And I believe Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo actually won that match.
Yes, Charlie. It was incredible homecoming for Cristiano Ronaldo. Honestly, this was going to be the most popular thing that you would have seen in some time, Charlie. That was going to be so popular. Honestly, it would have been some sort of scene as well. So yeah, it was brilliant. Manchester United won 4-1 in the end of the game against Newcastle. They deserved it pretty much. They nearly conceded, unfortunately, but yeah. But at the end of the day, they won as well. We've got one more match this weekend as well. Let me just go through some of the results that have happened this weekend alone. So, big shock of the weekend, Charlie. Crystal Palace. Look at that. 3-0 victories over Tottenham. 3-0 victory over Tottenham. That was some result. And the first win for Patrick Vieira in the Crystal Palace management era. Tanganga was the one that got a red card. Second yellow, actually, should I say. And it was well deserved. It was the right second. It was Wilfred Zaha scored. Eduardo on his debut scored twice. Watford lost 2-0 against Wolves. Brighton won 1-0 against Brentford. Arsenal managed to get their first win of the season with 1-0 victory over Norwich. 4-1 Manchester United. As I said, Ronaldo scoring twice, Charlie. Incredible job. 0-0 against Southampton West Ham. It was Antonio got red second yellow. And therefore red card. So he will miss the next 3 matches. Leicester losing 1-0 to Manchester City. That you may remember, Leicester played Manchester City in the Community Shield earlier where they won 1-0, but it's the opposite round this time around. 3-0 Chelsea victory. And today, Leeds losing 3-0 against Liverpool. Best wishes, by the way, to Harvey Elliott, unfortunately, who suffered a rather bad-looking leg injury, knee break. It was a horrible sight. We wish him the best. Everton beat Burnley, by the way, is the last match of the weekend. That's on tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the Monday night football, I believe. Yeah, big weekend. Premier League action will continue tomorrow. Everton, Burnley, you can watch that on Sky Sports. So I wonder how that's going to be interesting indeed. So we're going to move on now to In the Spotlight now for your next segment. I'm going to talk very quickly about some news from the UK government and the United States on this week's edition of this segment. I want to start with the UK government's raising of national insurance and universal credit. And Zach, this did not go well down with MPs during the week in the House of Commons. What is your view on Boris Johnson's tax increases?
Yeah, so this is something that was announced this week as part of the reform of social care, or what looks like a reform of social care, but not come down 3 years until 3 years later down the line. This is a well-needed reform of social care, because social care has been crisis for years, as you're probably aware, and it's been underfunded and needs to be funded. So Boris Johnson did not want to be the Prime Minister that took social care off the bubble again in 2019. He said he had a plan to fix the social care crisis for once and all when he got into office. It only took 2 years later for him to come up with a plan. I have to say, Charlie, it's not gone down particularly well with certain people. If we look at if we look at what the Labour Party called the national insurance increases, a tax on working people and a tax on jobs. I have to say I don't disagree with that. The Treasury. This is interesting, Charlie, because this is interesting. It's a very big risk by this government to put national insurance and freeze the triple lock as well, by the way, which was announced as well. It was very interesting because, as you know, national insurance was on the Tory 2019 manifesto, and they said they wouldn't increase that. Well, goodness me, guess what they've done, Charlie? They've broke that promise under the plan called a health and social care levy. They don't call it a tax increase; they call it a levy. It's a tax increase, just to get you right on that one. But yes, this is the Telegraph reporting, by the way. I just want to show you this as well, because this is what the Telegraph is reporting. They call this the poll tax 2.0. This is from Treasury's own expert. And they think this national insurance levy may impact on one family formation, stability, or breakdown as individuals who just manage them financially. All this see their disposable income reduce. And also, the government's own analysis says that it could result in the breakdown of families and tier companies hiring new staff and increasing wages. Well, this was an unpopular move, certainly on the Labour and the opposition side. On the Tory backbenches, there was about 40 odd so MPs abstaining on a vote which was rather hastily done by the government on Wednesday, announced on Tuesday. To get their own rebellion in line. I have to say, Charlie, it's quite incredible that they managed to win it, despite the fact their own MPs hate it. Something like that. But yeah, this is my opinion, awful, horrible tax increase for the ordinary working person. Whatever you think of shares of dividends and that being taxed and everything like that. I mean, that's apparently claimed to do that. This plan doesn't even come in until like, what was it, 2024, 2023?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's $3 billion only being sent to social care, but only in 3 years' time, and only half of that will be on actual social care. So this is a waste of time, Charlie. I think this is just a bunch of money and a tax increase on working people. That's my opinion on it. I'm sure you probably think the same.
I have to say, Zach, I actually agree with you. I really do on this issue, because I'm against Boris on this one. He's turning into the Blue Labour here. What is going on? He's raising taxes. I think it's up to 1.25% by what I've read up.
1.25, yeah.
1.25 according to what I've read up the other day. Yeah, I can't believe it. This is going to affect so many people. I spoke about reforming social care. This isn't reforming social care. It's in a way that's been done to increase taxes on working class people. I mean, you look at the other issue, universal credit. I've been hearing people are going to be left about 80 to 90 pounds worse off. They're going to raise that from over £20 worse off. So it's just ridiculous. I can't stress enough. Please comment down below, guys, what you make of this. Do you think Boris Johnson has done the right thing on raising taxes, or do you think he hasn't? Please comment down below. Moving on now to the second part of In the Spotlight tonight. And Joe Biden, the US president, has implemented vaccine mandates across the United States. Also, a raft of other new protocols he's taking to help reduce the spread of coronavirus. Sat, what do you make of Joe Biden's new mandates, especially on vaccination across the US?
Yeah, so Joe Biden is basically what he's done is he's announced a series of measures to cover basically the Delta variant, to tackle the Delta variant. Now, cases of that have started to flatten out a bit, which is good news. But anyway, he wants some more protection to make sure less people are getting sick and all that sort of thing. So he's announced some new mandates, such as the Department of Labour, who are going to be kits with a vaccine requirement or face weekly testing. That's either two options you have. It's not necessarily a mandate there, but it's still, you have to either get vaccinated or face your testing. That sort of thing as well. In the some areas though, all federal employees now are going to be required to be vaccinated. No negative tests, no weekly testing. You need to be double vaccinated to work there. And any businesses with over 100 employees are now going to face masks with vaccine mandates. And I think, to be fair, Charlie, I think that's good. If you look at the responses of big businesses, they are putting their own vaccine mandates and everything. So I think that's only be a good thing to encourage this sort of thing, Charlie. However, the Republican governors are not too happy though. They're threatening to sue the Biden administration. I think Texas, South Dakota, Iowa, Alabama, Florida, lots of Republican governors are saying this is government overreach. I have to say, I don't think that will ring true to them, considering I think there was a Supreme Court decision in the past, Charlie, that basically said that mandating vaccine mandates were fine, actually. So, yeah, I think this is a good decision, actually. I think this is the right one. They've also announced, Joe Biden announced that they will be doing booster shots soon at an announced date. We're just waiting for the date on that. Everyone's going to get a booster shot there. And in the discussion this week, Charlie, 5 to 11-year-olds potentially going to get vaccinated with a Pfizer in America, which would be, I think, good. I know it sounds scary having your 5-year-old vaccinated, but to be honest, Charlie, there are kids and staff in America that have to be vaccinated for certain things other than COVID. So if you ask me, don't see a problem with it.
Mandating I just feel like we've put young kids having, I feel, an experimental vaccine, or actually it's a vaccine. We'll say it's a vaccine, but to 5-year-olds, God, if my kids were that young, I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't actually, in my opinion, if I had a 5-year-old, I would just hold it out a little bit longer. The problem is they so rarely get affected by COVID. They don't get severely unwell with this. Hospitalization is very low. Death is very low. The low risk. I understand about people who are vulnerable, yeah, but healthy kids? Really?
I suppose you could say, Charlie, that they could spread the virus, which is probably why they should be vaccinated. That could be an argument for vaccinating children, because they stop spreading the virus as much. But yeah, that's obviously got to be decided by the FDA and the CDC, whether to do that sort of thing. That's got to be decided there. I imagine they'll come up with a decision quite soon. Pfizer will probably have a vaccine for that. as I said as well, booster shots as well going to be very likely to be announced soon. Probably on the Pfizer one only at the moment, because Moderna don't have capacity at the moment. But it'll just be probably the Pfizer at the initial stage, and then go on to Moderna as well to be expanded. But yeah, if you ask me, Biden said as well, I should point out as well in his speech that we're getting impatient with the unvaccinated. I kind of agree. I actually agree with him on that one. Get vaccinated, or you're probably spreading a virus and a variant that affects the vaccines. So yeah, get vaccinated.
Yeah. I know that's for me. That's an interesting issue, and I'm not going to share my view on that. Thank you. But yeah, please comment down below, guys. Do you think Joe Biden's vaccine mandates are the right thing? Please comment down below what you think. Now it's time for Charlie's good news. Now, hooray! Woo! Good news time. For Charlie's good news this week, I want to start very quickly with my good news segment. And this is how you can look interesting. Now, I've got a very important thing here. Adventure Island staff have actually been praised for their hard work over the summer holidays. Why, do you ask? Well, let's have a read of exactly why Adventure Island staff. Now, as COVID restrictions eased, visitors were able to visit the popular seafront attraction without social distancing, and the theme park welcomed thousands of visitors when the schools broke up almost 2 months ago. Boss at Adventure Island have heaped praise on their staff, whose visitors say they were fun, engaging and enthusiastic on their shifts. Adventure Island is open at the weekend from 11 a.m. with Adventure Inside still open every day from the same time. A spokesman from the park said a huge thank you to all the Adventure Island staff for all the hard work they have done over the summer to keep people safe. Amazing. I can honestly say huge congratulations to everyone. It is amazing to see that as well. Now, a low-cost rail firm launches in the UK to take on CO2 bleaching airlines. Yes, what is this rail firm, before you ask? Well, Lumo promises to provide greener, cheaper and more comfortable alternative to flying on the UK's busiest route. Now, the steep cost of train tickets in the UK means many travellers take to skies instead of low-cost carriers, undercut on rail some domestic routes. But given the unfolding climate crisis and the aviation's stubbornly high emissions, environmentalists warn that such a scenario isn't sustainable. When enter Lumo, a low-cost, low-carbon rail firm that has launched, should I say, to huge potential to provide an alternative to flying on the UK's busiest domestic pre-pandemic routes, London to Edinburgh. Its all-electric trains are scheduled to start running on the 25th of October with one-way tickets starting from just £14.90. Lumo said 60% of all fares would cost £30 or less. That is Lumo, your new and affordable green travel train service. Very interesting indeed. Also as well, people will no longer feel they're not good enough. Well, what does this prove to you? After an NHS rule change in June, more gay and bisexual men can now donate blood. Ethan Spilby, who led the calls for the shift, explains why it's a solutions-focused campaign that actually made all the difference. Now, he came up against a restriction that had its roots in the HIV crisis in the 1980s, as well as contaminated blood scandal. He said, "I just felt so guilty and so ashamed that I couldn't help," said Spilby. People who lives in London. At the time, gay and bisexual men were not allowed to donate blood. I haven't yet come back to my family, so I just swept under a carpet and pretended I didn't want to donate, Spilby added. I almost felt unwanted, and it feeling inspired me. You know what? This is ridiculous. This can honestly case people haven't been excluded fundamentally because they're gay. But Spilby's experience led him in 2014 to launch Freedom to Donate. By this point, the policy had changed to allow men to give blood as long as they not had sex with another man with the past 12 months. But Freedom to Donate thought that this didn't go far enough. The campaign centred on a call for blood donors to be assessed and all their individual risk, declaring blood-borne viruses such as HIV rather than a blanket policy officially excludes gay and bisexual men. So that is the final news story of the week. We'll round it up all again next week. Please send your comments in on the good news segment. Zach, what did you make to this week's good news segment?
Absolutely brilliant news. I thought, well, it's good news. So yeah.
What headline caught your attention?
Particularly, was it the Adventure Island one, Charlie? It was lovely to see a little bit of support from that one. That was great to hear, wasn't it? If I was that correct with the Adventure Island, what was that? I think it was
Yeah.
the Adventure Island one. Yeah, that's lovely news to hear. Great to hear them helping out there and doing their bits, and just outstanding.
I have to say my one was the Lumo one. I think the new rail service, greener transport, certainly a decent way of travelling, if you ask me. So yeah, we'll do all that all again next week. Charlie's Good News is going to be back next week, and we'll be previewing more news headlines as we come in. But moving on now to Charlie Ask, which is my final part of the show tonight. This is going to be all about UK highways this week. So I've got a question for all the listeners out there, and also I will be giving my view on this as well, and Zach will also be giving his opinion. The question is this for this week: should the speed limit be reduced from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour on motorways across England to cut air pollution? That is the question this week. Should speed limits on motorways be reduced from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour? This is on motorway roads, by the way. Now, Zach, what is your view on this?
Yes, and I there's not only like an emissions sort of thing here, it's also a safety perspective as well, Charlie. The benefits of moving to 60 is that you have more active traffic control. You could improve the flow of traffic a bit better. You could reduce emissions, as you said. You could cause less accidents. You could cause less injuries. You could, as I say, you control the traffic better. There is. It's interesting. I think he's gone. By the way, I think he might pop up. Oh, you're back.
My internet must have died there.
Yeah. But yeah. I think yes. If you ask me to 60 miles an hour, I think that would be. I generally think I think it's a good idea. Obviously, it may make your journey a little bit longer, which is obviously negative. But if it makes roads safer, securer, and the traffic flows better, and reduces emissions, yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Zach, because I have to say on this issue, I'm a little bit sceptical on this actually, because I've seen speed limit reductions in Basildon on the A127 between Pound Lane and Fortune of War, which was put in by Gavin Callaghan, the Labour councillor of Pitsea North West, a couple of years ago now. And I didn't feel like there was much of a reduction in pollution around here. I don't know whether there were actually studies done. I don't know whether scientists actually went out to the road and surveyed it and actually studied whether there was any extra pollutants. I have to say, like, I feel like, because when we look at smart motorways, these are roads that have like variable speed limits to help control the traffic flow. So one part could be 70, one part could be 60. And you're like, okay, I'll go from a 70 limit to a 60 limit. And we're seeing these smart motorways that pop up everywhere now. Like there's been, like, smart motorways are a section of motorway that's like designed with these variable speed limits. Do you think Britain needs more of these? Maybe.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously you mentioned like the speed limit change there on the 127, because I think that went to, was it what, 60, 50, something like that, if I remember?
Yeah,
was it
50.
Yeah, so I can understand the arguments for that. I understand the arguments again, which makes your journey a little longer. And some might point out, what's the point? It's 10 miles an hour. Not 10 miles an hour will make a difference because you're still going to idiot speed in the road. Yeah, I know, I understand. I'm personally for. I see more benefits than risks. I think the risk is, as I said, it will just, make your journeys a bit longer. Not everyone likes long journeys. And it will make... it probably won't make a difference to some people because they'll do idiots, They'll be idiots. The answer to that is obviously put more cameras in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, Zach, and I've got this article up here
I see.
from this website here, because Redex have claimed that that some 60 mile an hour motorway speed limits have been introduced. So, for example, the M6 has a 60 mile an hour limit. This was from 4 motorways that were trialled in October of last year. So, M6 between junctions 6 and 7, the M1 between junctions 33 and 34, the M605 between junctions 1 and 3, and junctions 1 and 2 on the M5 took part in this trial. Now, the temporary speed reductions will be in place for 1 year after the trial. The impact will be addressed and the decision will be made whether to roll out the new 60 mile per hour limit to other sections of the motorway network with a view to curb pollution. Now, what is interesting is some of the bullet points here that explain it. So, the benefits of reducing speed, they claim, is improved road safety. So, it's hoped that limiting speed limits on motorways to 60 miles per hour could reduce the number of total and severe, fatal and severe accidents, the total number of them, by the way. It also could believe that it could increase fuel economy, reduced engine wear as well, and also reduced tyre wear, and also as well, and the other points to make about this as well. But also, what this part here is very, very important, because as the UK government continues to work towards its carbon reduction targets, road and highway agencies are actually carrying out a lot of interesting surveys on this. But we have to look in 2019, when the Dutch government capped highway driving speed limits to 62 miles per hour. Oh, God. Do apologise there. I have someone ringing me on a podcast. What is happening here?
Yeah. Daniel Elliott, the king of gate crashing chats and everything like that. Oh
yeah. Sorry, guys. I do apologise. I am in the middle of presenting at the moment. But yes, in 2019, the Dutch government actually introduced capped speed limits onto some of their roads, which is at 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometres an hour if you're over in the EU. It was actually in a bid to reduce vehicle emissions, particularly at peak times. Now, Zach, what did you make of like the Dutch study on reducing speed limits across their country?
Well, it's an interesting study, actually, isn't it? It was, I found it fascinating, or, you know, just how the way it all affects you, stuff like that. You know, in actually the Netherlands itself, they actually reduced the speed limit to 100 kilometers an hour, I think, if I remember, for their own areas on the highways. That's about 62 miles an hour, if you ask me, something like that.
Yeah,
it is. They have 130 kilometers per mile an hour speed on designated sections. But yeah, they basically did this because they looked at the environment point of view. In terms of that one, it's quite interesting, nevertheless, as well, because what it does, and it all, you know, they've done it for environmental reasons. They said that it reduced less nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide. The Dutch court ruled actually that the government must have ruled greenhouse emissions in 2018. And reducing the speed limit was found to be one way of doing it. And they did it, Charlie, which was very interesting.
Yeah, I have to say, Zach, my view on this is that it's a controversial one. I do think the government should stick to the limit unless they really want to change it. But the thing is that they need to do studies and surveys to actually see whether this actually has any effect on reducing pollution, reducing harmful exhaust emissions. I have to say, I'm a bit skeptical of this, actually. I have to say that. And please comment down below, guys, what you think about this. Do you think speed limits on UK highways, particularly motorways, should be reduced from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour? Please let me know. But we're just going to finish this podcast with one final announcement, which is GB News once again, because we have had quite a few new shows launching this week. We had On the Money with Liam Halligan Monday to Friday. As well, we had Gloria De Perio launching the briefing lunchtime And Zach, more news shows coming next week. But first, what was your reaction to some of the news shows that launched last week on GB News?
I thought the briefing was pretty good. I have to say, it's an interesting way of approaching political news. I thought it was all right, actually. I didn't watch much of it, but it was good from what I saw of it, I think, personally, Charlie. I think it was very good. On the money, I haven't watched it. I mean, money is sort of business news. Is not necessarily my type of thing all the time. But I think with Liam Hannigan is a good choice to present it, personally, because he's a specialist in this area. He used to be the Telegraph's chief business correspondent, so he would be an expert in that sort of area. Obviously, they've also got GB Sports Saturday and Sunday now. I haven't seen that, unfortunately. I saw some little bits of it, and I thought it was good, actually. It was a main roundup of what you see from the sports news. They're due to launch a couple more areas, I think, tomorrow. They're launching the briefing AM at 9 AM tomorrow with Tom Hartwood. And then on the money, I believe it's now going to be an hour long from one, and then 2 it's Superior and Hannigan, and then at 3 to 4, it would be Darren McAfee's launching a new briefing PM show. That was on actually 7 times this week. Actually, would you believe it? With no notice, but yeah. So the briefing shows are right, actually. I think it's been good to watch. And I think these are positive changes. One thing we didn't see was the return of Andrew Neil. Still don't know the fate of him yet. He hasn't made any official announcement, which is quite interesting, Charlie. So we will have to wait to see whether he will eventually return. But so far, he's not come out of his shell at the moment.
Yeah. I have to say as well, Free Speech Nation last week was presented by Patrick Christie's, because sadly, one of GB News' team, Andrew Doyle, tested positive for coronavirus. I'm just checking now to see whether he had actually returned to his slot. I believe Andrew Doyle has. It was all online last week. Was Andrew Doyle? I'm just going to double check for you now to see whether he was back on air, and he was back on air tonight for that show. So he is actually negative and free of COVID now. Which is great to see. But Zach, next week, obviously, GB News. I just wanted to touch on something, because there's been a bit of talk going around that GB News are after Piers Morgan, who, if you know from, used to be a host on Good Morning Britain, of course, famously spoke out about Meghan Markle on that show. Do you think, Zach, Piers Morgan would be a good addition to GB News?
I think he would certainly suit his brand quite well, suit the GB News brand quite well. I mean, yes, he would have some sort of difference in opinions with some of the presenters there, but I think, maybe he would be good. He would probably be the right type of audience for GB News, I think. And I think there's certainly, if you look at it, considering all the praise he got for the Ofcom decision, I think they might certainly line him up there one day.
What about, because obviously now you've got Andrew Neil, that I don't even know if he's going to be back on the station, because the thing is, him and Andrew are good friends. Like, they've known each other for years. The thing is, though, if Piers Morgan was to get a slot on that station, where do you see him, Zach, presenting? What show do you think would be good for him?
That's the thing, though. That I'm not sure. There's so much slots that have been taken already, Charlie. It'd be difficult to figure out where he would go. So, yeah, I'm not sure, really. Unless they reduce Tonight Live to 2 hours, say 10 to 12, something like that, and then Piers went at 9 o'clock as a prime time show. I can imagine they could do that as my opinion, my suggestion. But I think you would have to reduce one of the shows. So I would say probably Tonight Live. They'll probably reduce that. If you ask me. I think they would do that to get him in.
I was thinking more breakfast shows, actually, because he done Good Morning Britain as a breakfast show host. I think if you look at the lineups for GB, obviously you've got Simon McCoy and Kirsty Gallagher on Monday to Thursday with that. You've got to think, surely Piers Morgan could do weekend, maybe, the weekend breakfast shows to try and boost his ratings. And I think for him to return to GB News to do the Great British Breakfast, would surely boost his popularity ratings even more.
Yeah, I think I don't think he would be put on breakfast. Though I think he'd be put on a primetime show. As I said, 9 p.m. maybe potentially. I think they put him on there if they had the choice. If that's my opinion. So yeah, I think he would be put there if anything.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Zach, and I have to say, I do think I have to say with the content of this week, obviously with GB News, I'm sure he will be reacting to the Roy Chubby Brown protests as well that have been happening this week. A lot of this stuff, by the way, is cancel culture. But yeah, I have to say, Zach, though, I think Piers Morgan needs a new start on a news station. Do you think he does?
I mean, I don't agree with all the times, but I do miss his opinions and his reactions and the way he does stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't mind him.
I honestly want to see him back on our screens. The thing is, he's such a loved journalist by everyone in this country, and I think even though I don't agree with him on everything, he is a likable person. He's someone who actually, as an interviewer, is quite ferocious, isn't he?
He is. He is, and that's true on that part. I think he's a very, very ferocious interviewer. Nothing crosses his path. He'll say how it is. Don't like it. Well, he'll just smash you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Piers Morgan should not be cancelled. I think he should be uncancelled, to be honest, because he's really, really important that we get people on air. And I really hope Piers Morgan gets a show very soon. I hope GB News can sign him up and get him on. But unfortunately, guys, that's all we got time for the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight. And we'll be back again next week to do a brand new episode. Let's hope we get you, all the listeners, in to watch the show next week. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for listening, everyone. Take care and good night. I'm your presenter, Charlie Tolhurst. Take care, everyone, and